The cyto means cell and plasm means plasma.
Yes, perfect. Cyto means cell or associated to cell, and plasm means plasma. What is plasma then? Plasma is
Like the filled space inside a cell.
yes, it's called the fluid. Whatever is inside the cell, the fluid of the cell, that's called plasma. Correct. Perfect. Can you all see the screen that I'm sharing?
Yes,
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 sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
So what you have to do is what I was telling you. Just you have to make sorry. Have to make a division in your copy, and you will write on one side the terminology and on the other side the meaning. Now I was breaking down for you the word cytoplasm, just pruning you how my classes are going to be like. So the word cyto, as rightly said, is associated with cell, right? And the word plasm is associated with fluid, or you say plasma here. Which means one thing is clear, it's if something is cytoplasm, it's the plasma of the cell, which means the fluid of the cell, correct? Right?
yes.
Yes, sir.
So if I use this word cyto anywhere else, let me ask you, suppose in your board comes a question, it's a 1 marker question. What do you mean by cytokinesis? Cytokinesis. Now cytoplasma, cytokinesis, cytosol, cytox, cytoy, cytoz. These are all very confusing terms. And this is one problem with students who, start learning biology. Even including me, I was struggling with these words a lot in the beginning. So one thing outright, cytokinesis. Anyone knows what is cytokinesis? Just say yes or no. I want to know if you know it. If you know, just say yes. Don't tell me.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
knows.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Khalilur, Saifullah, Halima.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, perfect. So then it becomes even more easier for me to explain. So here the word cyto is still associated with, it means cell. And what does the word kinesis means here? So you all know what does cytokinesis mean. So yes, what will kinesis imply?
Division.
Division.
Division, right? Division or breaking up into two. So let's say division here. So cytokinesis is cell division, right?
Yes, sir.
You also must have heard a term called nucleoplasm. Have you read this term nucleoplasm?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
What does this mean?
Plasma inside the nucleus.
Yes, which means the fluid of the nucleus, right?
Yes.
Which also clearly tells you that nucleus inside a cell has its own fluid. And as Memuna told that cytoplasm is the fluid inside a cell enclosed by a cell membrane. So clearly, if there is a separate nucleoplasm, it has to be enclosed by a separate nuclear membrane. Make sense?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes.
Otherwise, it will be very difficult to maintain two different kind of plasm fluid inside the cell. It is like possible through densities, but let's for now understand it this way. Now, plasm here is associated with fluid. The word nucleo clearly tells you about nucleus. Now, these were just examples to begin with, which I wanted to show you just to make you understand that if you understand the term, at least the definition part of it becomes very easy in biology. Rest, what is left is the fundamental processes or the logic or the story behind it. For example, if I have to make a question, if the question is what is nucleoplasm, you already know it. Now the question is, what does nucleoplasm do? Now for that, you have to understand the fundamentals behind it. Now that is the part we will focus on. But this part, the very basic fundamental, the fear of words in biology, the fear of mugging up or remembering things will just get over as my classes will progress, that I can promise you, okay? So you have to make this terminology section. Everyone is clear? So you can just do it right now. Just leave 2-3 pages. Or if you have not made a copy, when you start make a copy, just leave 2-3 pages. But for today's class also, I will tell you a lot of terminologies. Okay, so how many of you have opened and looked at your book, the textbook NCRT? Class 12. Have your classes started in school? Just
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
So 1 month has finished.
okay. So for some it has started, for others it has not started. So you all must have had a look of your NCRT at least.
Yes.
I didn't receive anything, sir.
You didn't receive what, books?
Yes, sir.
Same here, sir. I'll receive it day after tomorrow.
Okay, so you yet have to look at the books. Okay, but those who have looked at the books, what is the first unit? What is unit 1 of your book?
Reproduction.
Reproduction of organisms.
Okay, so you have not looked at the book clearly. There is no unit 1 in class 12. There is unit 6 directly, right?
Yes,
Look
sir.
at it again. Is there any unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
No, sir.
Unit. There is unit 6. So where are the 5 units?
Class 1, 11.
Yes, class 11th you have studied. So whatever you studied in class 11, that was unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they start here from unit 6, which is reproduction. But reproduction, you have already studied a gist of it in class 11th. Okay. So whatever we are going to pick up to study, we will start from fundamentals. So I'll assume that some of you must not have read it in last class, and that will benefit everyone. Okay. So let me not assume to begin with that you know whatever you have studied till now. Will that be fine with everyone?
Yes.
It will brush up the basics for those for whom it's already clear, and for those who need it, it will be a bonus, a help. Okay, so let's start something. Let's start studying something in biology in today's class. So it's an introductory class. I'll not directly go into the jargons of biology today, but let me ask you all a very simple question. And I do this to all my classes and all my students. When you hear the word, when you hear the word biology, and you have studied quite some biology till now, so expecting that you are not naive or novice in the subject, when you hear the word biology, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? What is the other first word? Just a single word that comes to your mind.
Life.
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 Okay. 3 people said life. And what a coincidence. Life. Cool. What is the second word that comes to your mind then? Not life.
Organisms.
Yes, Khalil? Organisms.
Organisms.
Very good. And anyone else? Second word of others? Saifullah? Only these 2 words come to your mind? Life and organisms.
Science.
Sorry?
Science.
Science. That's interesting. Nice. So that's called going
Sir, cells.
cells. Okay. Now you are shooting up words. Fine. Science, cells. Anything else?
Plants, animals.
Which comes in organisms, right? So I'll just write it here. So you say plants and animals specifically, which are different forms of life. And
Nature.
nature. You know, nature is all not living. All the nature, all just to discuss, nature is whatever we see around us, right? we often confuse nature with only the plants, the flowers, the birds, the animals, the fish. Even mountains, rivers, ponds, lakes, they are a part of nature, right? Atmosphere, mist, fog, clouds, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. But okay, it's quite nice. Nature comes to your mind. Anything else?
The environment.
Environment. Perfect. Cool. So we started with life. Of course, life was the first mainstream answer of everyone because biology itself, if I divide the term bio and logy, what does bio means? Simple.
Life.
Life.
Life. And logy means
Study.
study. So clearly it's study of life. So life is the most common answer. Organisms because they are different forms of living systems. Science was interesting. Who said science?
I said
Yes. Okay, cool. So any rationale for it? I was about to tell you that when I ask what do you understand when I say science, then people say biology, physics, chemistry. But you're the first student who said when I say biology, you say science. So it's like going up, going down the pyramid actually, or going up or upside down pyramid. Science means, so you consider that biology is a legit science.
biology is a part of science. So
Biology is a part of science, right? Okay. Cells, interesting. Cells because they are the fundamental unit from which life is composed, right? So makes sense. Nature and environment. Who said nature?
Sami.
Yes. Why nature? Like any rationale for it? See, I'm just bringing you into the habit and the comfort that you can discuss things, even sleep things, with me in this class, and this is how you will learn. Why nature?
So because most of the processes are natural life processes.
Life processes, yes. So which means that nature is a broader term and biology comes under that umbrella, right? Even the study of like physical studies of the universe or the environment around us or the chemical study of it also comes under natural sciences, like you said. Okay. Environment, of course, because environment is made up of both organic and inorganic things. Now you all are familiar with the word organic and inorganic. Organic means,
Natural.
yeah, organic chemistry and inorganic chemistry. Now you will be able to answer it better. So organic means anything that has to do something with the living system, which is a part of it. So when we talk about organic chemistry, the chemistry which revolves around primarily these four elements is organic chemistry. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, right? John, we call it. Inorganic is like magnesium, sulfur, iron, but also it also plays a part in biology and in environment. But environment can be an interaction between both living and non-living system. Okay, very good. So you all have some decent idea about the study of biology as a branch of science. Now in class 12th, what we have to cover, what we have already covered in class 11th. If you have any doubt, whenever I'm starting any topic, if you have any doubt before or after the class regarding anything that was from class 11th also or from anywhere you have studied, you are free to ask, okay, and discuss. So let's begin with the first thing today, which is reproduction. Now you all have studied reproduction, I think from class 10th onwards. In class 10th also there was something about reproduction. Anyone remembers what is reproduction? Let's make a concept map in our mind about reproduction. So what is reproduction? Yes, Memuna just.
Yeah, it is a biological process where
Mhm.
where Where organism gives birth to young ones.
Yes, right. Perfect. Now let's try to break down the term. It's called reproduction. Production means production, means
Repetition.
Again.
again and again. So it's clearly something that's happening again and again, and it's producing. So reproduction, if you just go by the definition of books, it says, and you can just write it, that reproduction is the process by which parents produce offsprings which are similar to the adult parents. Correct? So just write down this definition first. It's important, and then we'll discuss a crucial point in this definition. Reproduction is the process by which parent organisms produce offsprings. Offsprings is the biological term for kids, for babies. Produce offsprings which are similar to the adult parent. Clear? Everyone has written?
Yes.
1 minute, sir.
Yes. Take your time. Reproduction is a biological process by which parent organisms produce offsprings which are similar to their adult form or to the adult parents. Everyone's noted?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now, why? Yes. Anyone? Someone is asking something? No. Okay. Why did I use the word adult here? Can anyone think and explain? Why adult parent?
Elder one.
So it's because of the age.
Because of the age. No, here the adult is not an adjective for the parent. Just like it's not just the adjective for the parent, it's also a characteristic that I'm talking about. Okay, just write it in another way, which is I think more clear. Write down. Parent organisms produce offsprings which are similar to the parent in their adult form, like in offspring's adult form. Now is it making more sense to you?
Yes.
In biology, all the babies of all the organisms do not look similar when they are just born or when they are just starting the life in the initial stages. Correct? Like
Yes.
Yes.
human babies look exactly like humans right from the birth. So you have to understand two concepts here before we go into reproduction. There is something called direct development and indirect development that you have studied in class 11. Remember? The
Yes.
animal kingdom, in the classification, you always used to write a point direct development and indirect development. For insects, it's always indirect development. For humans, it's a direct development. Now, the term tells you that in a direct development, the baby which is born or the offspring which is born, right from the birth, it's similar to the parents, like in morphology. Like a human baby has the same body structure and anatomy, correct? But what about the baby or offspring of a butterfly? What is the offspring of the butterfly? Butterfly is an insect. Okay.
Caterpillar.
Caterpillar. Perfect. Now, does the caterpillar look anything like a butterfly?
No.
So when does it start looking like a butterfly?
After it's completed its life cycle.
After it completes its life cycle. Yes, perfect. But what is happening through that life cycle? Right, perfect, Atif.
The
It transforms
caterpillar
the
like
butterfly.
feeds on the leaves and then wraps around itself to create a cocoon.
Yes.
Then inside the cocoon the caterpillar grows. I think I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Yeah, the caterpillar grows and forms.
Even if you're not sure, what do you think? What is happening inside? It's just biology. So
Caterpillar then grows and forms a butterfly, and then once the process is done, the cocoon breaks and the butterfly emerges. Yeah, something like that.
yes, right. Very well explained. Someone already just in one line explained this process using a beautiful word. Who was that?
It transforms to a butterfly.
It transforms, transformation, right? There's a word called transformation. So it transforms into a butterfly. Like it was not a butterfly. It looks like what? What does a caterpillar looks like?
A worm.
A worm, right? Perfect. It looks like a worm. It is like a worm. It is a worm. It's not actually from a worm species, but it walks like a worm, it wriggles. But then it transforms into a butterfly. Now that process, you all must have read this word called molting, right?
Yes.
Or another complex word called metamorphosis, right? Now, the word morph means always, you can write it for today's terminology section. You will read a lot of words in biology like morphology, morphogenesis, metamorphosis. So what is morph means? Morph means,
Transform.
no, morph means appearance. Okay. Morphology means whatever we can see from outside. Anatomy means what is from inside. So we cannot see anatomy of an organism because it's inside. So the anatomy of a human, where the heart is, the lungs, liver, kidneys, all are inside. But we can see the morphology of a human. Okay. Morphology. The word logy means study. The word morph means appearance. So what is morphology? Quick.
The study of visible characteristics of an organism, like
Perfect.
from the outside appearance.
Perfect. Now, is it anything difficult? No, it's very easy, right? Once you understand what is morphology. So if I ask you write about the morphological characters of a arthropoda. Suppose this is the question. Now, what I mean by morphological characters, what I can see from outside. So you will not talk about its organs. You will not talk about what is inside the blood and all. You will talk about its appendages, that it has joint appendages. It has a segmented body. It has spiracles. It has antenna, things like that. Correct? So metamorphosis means, or molting means, transforming from a state which was very different to begin with into something which resembles the adult parent. Okay. And it's an example, or it's a type of indirect development. Indirect development. Now, this happens in case of insects. It also happens in case of amphibians. Like, has anyone seen a baby frog? What does a baby frog looks like? What is it called? What do we call a baby frog?
Tadpole.
Tadpole,
Tadpole. What does a tadpole looks like?
like a small creature with a head and a tail.
Yes, like a fish. It resembles more a fish than a frog. Just
Yes.
a head and a tail, no limbs, nothing. It's just flapping and swimming in the water. So it looks like a fish baby, like a small fish which will grow into a bigger fish. But over the time, interestingly, it was just head and a tail. Over the time, this head, the body starts growing and it starts growing limbs. Correct? And still there is a tail, which again over the time head becomes bigger, body becomes bigger. Now there is no tail, and there are two pair of legs, in which the hind leg, just pardon my drawing, is bigger than the longer than the front one, like the four limbs. So if you see a frog sitting, you will always see that it leaps with the force of its hind leg. Anyone has observed a frog leaping or in videos, cartoons? Frogs have a very big hind leg with which they push the ground and they leap, correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Tadpole had no appendages. So over time, these appendages just come up and this stage starts resembling the parent. This was very difficult from the, very different from the parent. So it's clear what is indirect development, where the organism develops through stages, where the initial stages do not resemble the parent, the mature parent. Is it clear?
Yes.
sir.
A
Yes,
direct
sir.
development happens in mammals, like humans, mammals, primates, non-primates, all. There is a direct development. Okay. So this was something from class 11 which needed to be understood before we move forward. Now coming to the point, that's why I use the word adult in the definition, that reproduction is where offsprings are produced which are similar to the adult form, in the adult form to the parents. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Very good. Now let me ask you one very basic question. You all have studied life processes in class 10th, right? We are just building bridges so that no gaps are left from where we left last time, where you left last time in biology. So what is a life process?
So the process required for the process that is required for living. If this process was not there, then the organism will not be able to.
Not be able to live, you may say. Okay, let's discuss another important concept. There is one thing which is called life process, and there is another thing which is important for entrance point of view, which is called characteristic property of life. Anyone knows the difference between the two? What is a life process and what is a characteristic property of life? Class 10, just a recap before we move forward. Anyone? I hope no one is getting bored. Are you getting bored? Why are your mics?
No, sir. Yeah, I'm not sure about the difference.
You don't have to be sure. See, the worst you can do in my class is give a wrong answer. That's the worst you can do. And it's completely fine. No problem, no judgments. Because if you'll give all the right answers, you probably don't need to be in the class, right? You know. But by the time this year ends, you will be giving right answers. All the right answers. So what do you think? Again, terms. Something is called life process, and in entrance, if you see neat papers, there are certain words called characteristic property of life, or they also use another word called defining property of life. So instead of characteristic, they also use the word called defining property of life. Life process simply means something, a process which happens in living system, correct? You all are on the same page?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Examples of life process? Come on, quick.
Excretion,
Transportation.
digestion.
Expiration.
Digestion, nutrition, excretion, right? And
Locomotion.
Transportation.
yes, locomotion, growth, correct? Now, what is a defining property of life that you have studied in 10th? A defining property of life is
Consciousness.
yes, right, perfect. Without which, without that property, a living system cannot sustain. Okay, it cannot survive, it cannot continue to live, it will just die and perish. That's called a defining property of life. Now let's distinguish between the two quickly, taking the example of reproduction. Now, do you think reproduction is a life process?
No.
Is reproduction a life process? Life process. What do you think? Is it a life process or not? See, life process is
No.
simply, okay. Life process,
Yes.
okay. Life process is simply any process that is done or shown by a living system. So a living system does respiration, so it's a life process. A living system moves, it's a life process, which means a living system can do that. What a living system cannot do, I don't know what it cannot do. Okay, let's not go there. What it cannot do. What it can do is a life process. Okay, can it do reproduction?
Yes.
Yes.
Obviously, which means reproduction is undoubtedly a life process. Clear till here? Or any confusion? No confusion, right?
No.
Yes. But now the question comes, is reproduction a defining property of life?
No, sir.
No.
No.
No. Why? Because the answer to the earlier question was yes. So obviously it has to be no for this question, right? Why reproduction is not a defining property of life? Anyone? Yes, Atif.
So the organism can live without reproduction.
Perfect.
It's not necessary for the continuation of life.
No. It's not necessary for the continuation of life is a wrong statement. It's not necessary for the sustenance of the life, but for continuation. When you say continuation, you go over generations, right? Human species can continue to live only if there is the process of reproduction possible among humans. If they cannot reproduce, all the humans will live, but when this generation will die, the next generation will not come. So there is no continuation of the species. So the word continuation means that something can continue from something which was previously present, right? It's like a chain link. Like in a series, there are episodes which are in continuation. But if you talk about one single generation, it's like a movie. My life is a movie, like my life is my movie. It can begin and end without having sequels or other parts. So reproduction is important for continuation of species, but it is not important for the sustenance of life of that particular organism. Make sense?
Yes.
So that's why reproduction is a life process, but it is not a defining characteristic property of life. Now, if you have understood, now this question is for, let's go to Khalilur. You're there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So you understood this whole discussion?
Yes, sir.
So tell me, give me one example of one process which is both a life process and a defining process, a defining property of life.
Respiration.
Respiration. Perfect. Good. So you understood, right? Someone used the word consciousness here, right? Who used the word consciousness? Sorry, in the beginning, like I'll struggle with all your names, but over time, as discussion will progress, I will know who contributes what, and I'll be good with your names, okay? I'll be good with identifying you, actually. Because with your videos off, I just have to rely on your voice. It will take me a few classes to get your voice recognition registered in my mind, okay? So someone used consciousness. Who did that?
It was me, sir.
It was who?
Muhammad Saifullah.
Yes, okay, Saifullah. Good. So consciousness is something that we will come back to because it's very important from the perspective of a lot of entrance based questions. So I'm leaving it here for now. We'll not go to consciousness for like in today's class. Is it fine?
Yes, okay, sir.
So, but you brought in consciousness to prove the point that consciousness is something which is a life process. Is it a defining property of life?
Yes, sir.
Are you sure?
Yes, it was in my book.
But there are people in coma, right?
See, you have people among the best. I really like this spirit. So you see, just because something is in your book does not mean it is correct. And to be very honest, NCRT, like this year got revised and updated. So probably so those who have not yet bought your textbooks. When you buy it, see that it is the most like it's the revised edition that you're buying. For those who already have their books, see that if it's a revised edition, because NCRT, the last one which I studied, had many things which are wrong, technically wrong now. Okay, let's come to consciousness for let's 5 minutes. Let's spend 5 minutes there because someone brought in a very interesting point. I'm asking, are you sure that consciousness is a characteristic property of life? And Saifullah said yes, right?
Yes.
And someone said, who was the other person who brought in the point of people in coma?
I.
Me or my? Just state your name for okay. I can do
So me, Halima.
Yes, Alima. I'm sorry. Okay, just to in the first 1 or 2 classes, just say that I Halima or I Khalil. Okay, thank you. Yes, so she brought a very very valid point. What about patients who are in coma? Because now, if you are studying biology, let me promise you one thing. If you are studying biology and you want to pass with good marks in class 12, rest assured that will happen. Okay, that I can assure you. But let's go beyond that. Before covering the syllabus, let's uncover the syllabus and understand it. Then you don't have to cover it. You already know so much that whatever is going to come in your boards, it will just be scratching the surface. It's easier. So my methodology of teaching is that if you need this much to pass in your exams, and if you only study this much, it is the nature of human mind that it will not retain everything. You know what? This is the difference between a human mind, a human brain, and a computer. Whatever you save in a computer or in a external drive, it stays there, even if it is gibberish and does not make sense. Suppose I scribble on a page and I save it as a PDF. Now that PDF has no meaning, it's just scribbling, but it will stay there in the computer, correct? But
Yes.
But every day, a human does a lot of things. Do you remember everything of your day? No,
No, sir.
because it's not important. We do not need it. Someone called you, you talked to him, and you might have forgot, okay, this person from this company or customer care called me and what I talked to that person about. Because it's not important and information for you. So if this is the syllabus and you study only this much, chances are that you will lose some information because that is the property of mind, and you will remember less than what you need to pass. But if this is what you need to cover and you understand this much, it's easier for you to pass any exam, correct? Now I'm saying
Yes, sir.
understand. I'm not saying remember. You don't have to mug it up. Okay. Let's come to consciousness quickly. So Saifullah, what is your rebuttal to your own peers' question that what about patients who are in coma? They're not conscious. Are they conscious?
They are just conscious but cannot move.
They are conscious but cannot move. Means they know whatever is happening to them. You mean to say that?
Yes. In the surrounding, they are a little bit aware of their surroundings.
So you mean to say that people who are in coma are aware about their surroundings, they are also self-aware about themselves, but the point is they just cannot show a
React to it.
response to it, right?
Yes.
Then how it is? Okay, before I counter argue it, yes, Halima, anything?
Maybe I was wrong.
Sorry,
Maybe I was wrong.
you should not just go back so easily, huh? Okay, maybe you are not wrong, or maybe you are wrong, but what do you think? Do you agree now? Are you ready to switch sides?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, so let me ask a question to Saifullah now. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
What is the difference then between a paralyzed person and a person in coma? Is paralysis exactly the same as coma? Any idea about paralysis? What is paralysis? We are trying to understand some basic concepts of biology here, by the way, before we go to reproduction. Paralysis. What is paralysis?
A person who cannot move.
right?
Yes.
Let's say that. So a person in paralysis is also aware about the surroundings, right? But suppose there is a full body paralysis, then the person will not be able to show a response, any locomotor response, any movement. Now, how is it different from coma? Or is it same? Is it similar to coma?
I guess it is similar.
Okay. And who is it guessing? Sefula.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So Sefula thinks that it's similar. Anyone who believes otherwise?
Yes, sir. In coma, the patients are mostly unconscious. In paralysis, it can be either.
Yeah. So in coma, you're saying the person is not conscious. It's unconscious, which means the concept of consciousness does not apply on a coma patient.
Yes, sir.
Which means you are reviving Halima's point that a person in coma is not conscious,
Yes, sir.
but still alive.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Halima, would you like to switch sides again?
Sir, I'm fine with any point.
What?
I'm fine with anything.
Okay. Halima's like, okay, whatever it is, you decide. You people decide and let me know. Okay, that's nice. Okay, so let me tell you one thing. Coma, if you don't know, and if you know, it's good. Patients with coma are also sometimes called brain dead patients. Have you heard this term, brain dead?
So isn't
Yes.
brain dead and coma different?
No, brain dead is a stage in coma where you actually see no neuronal activity. Now we'll come to neurons and the neuronal activity. As I was telling you, we'll come back to consciousness. But just understand that when we say someone is brain dead, the brain is not showing any kind of activity. You know, brain itself shows some patterns. How many of you have done or seen, or anyone in the family has gone through MRI or a CT scan? Anyone?
No, sir, not that I
No,
know.
sir.
No, or not? Okay. So there are ways by which we can get to know how brain works. So in previous classes, you must have studied about neurons. Remember, neurons are one of the two kind of cells in our body that produce electricity of their own. They work on the principle of producing electricity, which is called action potential. One is brain and the other is heart. Remember, your heart also produces electricity every 0.8 seconds so that it can beat the whole heart to contract.
Yes, sir.
If you are not remembering, just say that, like, we can discuss it more, but it's important. So heart has certain tissues called SA node and AV node, which is called the pacemaker of the heart. You must be knowing that people sometimes they get artificial pacemaker transplanted in their heart, like
Yes, sir.
over their heart. That what does that device do? That device is a battery which after every 0.8 seconds gives a small electrical impulse which just makes all the tissues of the heart contract, and this is how heart keeps beating. Okay, and when it contracts, it pumps the blood out. So heart is nothing but just a motor, a pumping motor, muscular pumping motor. Okay, similarly brains, to send signals, they produce action potentials, and that is also a voltage surge, a slight voltage surge in the membrane potential. Even when you are sleeping, your brain has an activity firing pattern. Sleep is not a state where everything in your body shuts down. You know that? Sleep is a very, very active state actually. How many of you have dreamt while sleeping? Dreams? You all must
These
have.
are all of us have.
Yes, perfect, right. So dreams, and how many of you have experienced sometimes that in dreams you are running? There is a dream where you are running or you are playing or you are doing something vigorous, and when you actually wake up, you feel tired. You're like, you don't feel very fresh. You feel like you have been running actually. Anyone has went through such dreams? No. No one has went through such
No.
dreams.
I don't remember,
No.
sir. I had dreams when I was doing activity, but I don't remember if I was
Most of
tired
the
after
dreams
that.
you don't remember, but if so, sometimes when our brain feels in a dream that it's very surreal dream, it's like a real dream where you are actually. Uh, I love to observe dogs and cats around. If you have dogs and cats around, what you can do is to be a good student of biology, you do not have to read the books all the time. Okay. Any one of you has seen a dog sleeping? A sleeping dog? Dogs dream a lot. So do cat. Anyone has seen a sleeping dog?
Yeah.
Sometimes when the dogs are sleeping, their paws are moving. They tend to do certain things with their paws. In their dreams, what they're doing, they're digging up. Have you seen a dog before sitting, it clears and digs that area and then sits there? It's a behavioral thing of the dog. Sometimes in their sleep also, they are cleaning an area. They are digging off soil, but actually they are sleeping. But it is a proof that when brain understands that it's doing something physically, it also has the ability to involve muscles, real actual muscles, which starts moving. If not moving, they starts flickering. We call it um, quick contraction and relaxation in the muscle, which loses a lot of energy. And when you will wake up, actually you were sleeping, but in that sleep, in that dream, you actually used a lot of ATP in your muscles, in your leg and hand muscles. And you will feel like, oh, I did a lot of work with my legs. Do you understand the concept now?
Yes.
So I was telling this to explain that even a sleeping brain is a very active brain. So we call someone brain dead when the brain's firing pattern abolishes. Now the brain is not responding to anything, any stimuli which is being given from outside, then it's called a brain dead. Now people in coma, like when they go into coma, they may not be brain dead in the very beginning, but over the time they lose consciousness. And when they become brain dead patients are actually very, very dilemmatic in law. In some countries, brain dead patients are considered dead. If someone is brain dead, it's dead according to law. But in countries like India, like in this and many countries, brain dead patients are still on ventilator, who are like other organs are surviving, but the brain is dead. They are not considered dead. Relatives have to decide whether you want to get that patient out of support system or you want to continue with the treatment. Do you understand the difference, everyone? So some of you will
Yes.
become doctors someday, and these things will be a real life thing for you. So coming back to the same point, coma is where consciousness may or may not be a part of that person. So when there is no consciousness, the person is called brain dead, and the brain dead person is called living or dead. Biologically, that person is dead. Why I'm saying biologically it's dead? Because it's not uh, the patient is not able to revive back. So when you take that patient out of support system, like ventilation, so something is pumping air in the lungs, that why lungs are being inflated, and just because they are being inflated and then constricted, your heart is beating. By the way, you know that there are two types of heart. Just some concepts and basics. There are two types of hearts in biology. One is called neurogenic heart and one is called myogenic heart. Now the word myo means
Muscle?
perfect. Muscle. Where have you heard this word before, Atif?
Yes, and in 11th grade itself, there's like many terms like this, like myofibrils, like that.
Exactly. Myoglobulin. Myoglobin. Remember hemoglobin, myoglobin,
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
myofibrils. Yes. Myo means muscle. The word genic means derived, like through which it functions. So neurogenic, the word neuro means
Neurons.
neuron or brain or your central nervous system. So a neurogenic heart is associated with the nervous system. But a myogenic heart is just derived from the muscles it is made up of. A myogenic heart, when taken out of the system, can still continue to beat like a human heart.